Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to waste any time. Without further ado, we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, where you're joined by the man who came in third in the CPAC straw poll for president a couple of weeks ago, Senator Rick Santorum, former senator of Pennsylvania. Hello, sir.
How you doing, Steve? Good to be with you again.
Always good to talk to you. I understand your daughter's doing well, so that's the most important thing I know, and that's great news.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the prayers.
You're welcome. And let me start by asking you what I asked Senator Inhofe about an hour or so ago. Today we have the U.S. sending a missile defense to Guam to protect against the North Koreans, and we have the North Korean press agency saying that the Army has signed off. It's all approved that the North Koreans now have permission to strike the U.S. with a nuclear attack. You know, I mean, we've heard similar things in the past, but this seems to be just progressing and progressing and progressing in an unprecedented fashion.
Well, I mean, many of us talked about how when rogue nations get nuclear weapons, very bad things can happen. It's one thing, frankly, for the Chinese or the Russians, a major power, a stable, for lack of a better word, country. When a small rogue nation like North Korea got a nuclear weapon during the Clinton administration, many of us said, President Clinton, this idea of a framework agreement and trusting the North Koreans not to do what they said they weren't going to do is going to end up with them having a nuclear weapon, and at some point this nation is going to be a problem. And here we are, not too far down the road, where you have obviously a crazy man, someone who should not be in charge of a basketball team, much less a country, and doing all of these threatening things. And so we are forced to respond. Our allies are legitimately concerned and nervous, and so the United States, has been verbally attacked, and our allies are being threatened, and so we have to respond. I just say that in the framework that we're going through the same thing with respect to Iran, which may be even the leaders there may be even more crazy because they are driven by a radical theology, not just the whim of the moment.
Right.
And they have been even more explicit about using these weapons against our allies than even the North Koreans, and yet we stand on the sidelines and allow them to build a nuclear weapon.
Right, and Senator Inhofe said that he believes that we should strike preemptively now against North Korea if we know where the targets are. And, of course, Israel has been interested in doing that for a while now against Iran. Do you agree with Senator Inhofe that if we need to send a message to North Korea now?
Look, I think Jim Inhofe is a great American, and my feeling is that if the North Koreans are specifically are doing things that are leading up to a strike, that a defensive strike would be in order. I can't say that I have the knowledge that I know about how far, where they are and what our intelligence shows. But if we believe that they're going to actually use these weapons, then I think we have a right to protect ourselves.
All right, let me switch over topics, Senator Santorum, to something that happened in Israel. And Andy McCarthy wrote a great column on it today, and I know you feel strongly about this. While President Obama was over there, he, some will say, forced, convinced, twisted the arm of Prime Minister Netanyahu to what's that?
Bludgeoned.
Okay. President Obama did to Benjamin Netanyahu to apologize to the Prime Minister of Turkey for Israel's self-defense against the jihadists who attempted to break the blockade of Gaza a couple of years back on that ship. So not only did Netanyahu apologize, he's now agreed to pay reparations to the families of the terrorists that Israel had to kill because they were under attack when they came on the ship.
This is what it means to be a friend of the United States. To be a friend of the United States, you have to bow down to tyrants and people who want to seek your destruction. President Erdogan, who is an Islamist, who is changing the very fabric of Turkish government from a secular one to a much more Islamic and Islamist point of view, is seen as, according to President Obama, one of his key strategic allies in the region. That's where the president is coming from. Now, partnering with someone who is very favorable to Islamists, sees Hamas not as a terrorist organization. He's been very clear. Erdogan has said that they are not, and that they are going to be supportive of Hamas as they launch rockets into Israel from Gaza. Israel is attacked almost on a daily basis from Hamas in Gaza, and they have a right to protect themselves and isolate these folks from getting any further weapons. And when they did so, you see the result. The United States forces the people defending themselves, the Israelis, to apologize to the people aiding terrorists. That is foreign policy under the Obama administration, and it is why North Korea feels that they can saber rattle. It is why Iran believes that they can go forward and develop a nuclear weapon, because they believe that President Obama will not be opposing them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're talking to Rick Santorum here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You know, you came out the other day and you said that the Republican Party needs to stand strong on the social issues. I could not agree with you more. And one place that the Republican Party should have won in 2008 and in 2012 in the presidential elections was on the issue of abortion, the so-called war on women. If the public knew that Barack Obama had voted against or not voted for the right to protect children born alive of botched abortions, they'd be outraged, and the Republicans would have won that argument. But the Republicans choose to shut up and run. And I want you to hear something, Senator, along these lines. Same type of bill that Obama couldn't bring himself to vote for in Illinois, they're now trying to pass in Florida. And Florida state senators held a hearing, and one of the people talking to them, one of the witnesses, was a Planned Parenthood lobbyist. And they were talking about giving the rights of any child to a child born of a botched abortion. And I want you to listen to what she said. Here's cut 4.
It's just really hard for me to even ask you this question, because I'm almost in disbelief. If a baby is born on a table as a result of a botched abortion, what would Planned Parenthood want to have happen to that child that's struggling for life? If you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We believe that any decision that's made should be left up to the woman, her family, and the physician.
And it gets worse from there, Senator. I mean, it is just incomprehensible that this is the stated position of any human being, and this is what they believe.
This is the stated position of Senator Barack Obama when he was a state senator in the Illinois Senate. In fact, he was the only one to go onto the floor of the Illinois Senate and argue against this very bill in Illinois, and in fact, as chairman of the subcommittee, of the committee, he blocked it from going to the floor the following year. President Obama was even articulated that he saw allowing children to be protected once they are born, if they are less than 40 weeks old in gestation, in other words, 9 months.
Right.
Is it, in his mind, was a threat to Roe versus Wade. So in his mind, any child can be aborted or can be killed up to 9 months from the time of conception. That is what Roe v. Wade in Barack Obama's mind is all about. And you're right. John McCain didn't bring it up. Mitt Romney didn't bring it up. We Republicans were being castigated for, the most fringe comments by people, instead of looking at the record of this president as being the most pro-abortion president in the history of this country.
Senator, if the same advisors advise the next, promise me you will not use the same advisors that worked for Romney and McCain. I know you won't if you're the nominee, because it's just a recipe for disaster. And this having to bend now on gay marriage, on abortion, on the social issues, and become Democrats, immigration, everything is just lunacy.
Well, these are the same advisors who botched these last 2 campaigns are now saying, well, since we can't win with moderate Republicans, we have to now try to be liberal Republicans to win, instead of standing up for the values that made our country great. We have not had a nominee that is willing to go out and articulate a unified vision of what conservatism is, what American first principles are about, and why we're the greatest country in the history of the world. And then we wonder why we don't win. That's why we don't win. And I assure you that when this next Republican primary comes around for president, we will have a strong, principled, conservative nominee, because that's where the Republican Party is across America. It's not about these talking heads. that you're hearing a lot of in the media today.
All right,
It's not
Senator,
about
I want to interrupt. I apologize for interrupting, but we got less than a minute. Will that nominee possibly be you?
I'm certainly leaving the door open for that. I'm making no commitments at this point, but we're not doing anything inconsistent with running in 2016.
Right. You're going to South Carolina, I believe. Or last week you were in South Carolina, and
I was.
And good. Look, to me, you're the voice of common sense, and trying to turn into this party into the party of Democrats is just insane. God bless you, sir. I hope you'll come back soon, and we'll speak to you again.
Thank you very much.
All
Bye.
right. Take care.